There we go. So we're recording and we're ready to go. Yes, Sabra, I'm so glad you're here for day 2. and we do have some people who joined like brand new, missed yesterday, but got in under the wire today. So I'm so grateful for you for being here. Hopefully you caught up watching the recording. I did send you the links, so I think some of you expected it as an old-fashioned attachment on the email. So I do want to reiterate right now as well that these are not attachments. These are links to, I store all the documents in the cloud, even that printable one. And the spreadsheet, of course, is on Google. But I sent an email template in that email I sent you, and it's a link. And I also sent you the printable workshop, because I know some of you don't want to bring a laptop. So those are links that you can click and then download. Hello, Judy from New Hampshire, Holland Landing, Ontario. Fellow Ontarians, it's awesome. Canada's really strict. A lot of Americans, you just like go online, Universal Life Church, bam, and you can become an officiant. But man, it's tough in Canada. You got to be a minister or a JOP or something. Burlington, man, Ontario is really representing here. So yeah, it took 18 months. Yeah, it can be a slog. So welcome to everyone, wherever you're from. I want to dive in first of all. So we're going to cover that. We're going to keep going through the spreadsheet today. And what I want to do first is orient you, because again, I think maybe it's just because when I'm doing a class or a lesson, I get lost. I want to know where we are, kind of linear. So that's one thing that I like to do for everyone taking the course. So this is the 6 stages we're going to go through in the 6 weeks. The first thing in this system, because that is what I'm teaching, as we had said yesterday, this is a style. Unboring Officiant is a style that you're going to get, and you're going to make it your own and adapt it to your own personality. But it's a style, but it's also a system. That's the huge, that's what causes the success of this, is it's replicatable. It doesn't take forever. You're not casting about. And so here's the system. You're going to conduct a thorough workshop with your couple. Sit down with them once. You don't need to meet with them 2, 3, 4 times. Have meetings at bars with tequila to loosen them up, to get information for their story. You don't need to do all that. If you want to do all that, that's fine. And if they're your friends, that's fine. But when you're a professional, meet with them once. As I said yesterday, they got tons of vendors, and they'd rather you just get on with it and do your job and bother them as little as possible. Then we're going to use all the data from the spreadsheet and create a clear script. And then once you have the script and send it to them, you're going to build that storyboard, get the data from them that you need to write their story. And again, very concise, only what you need. If you get too much, you're overwhelmed. If you get too little, you say, I can't do anything with this. So perfect amount of information from them to build your storyboard, and then you use that data to write a moving story. So you see the pattern there. Stage 1, get what you need to build the ceremony, and then build the ceremony. Stage 3, build the storyboard, and then write the story. Then we're going to talk about the rehearsal. Great place to kind of establish your authority and your command and your chemistry with everybody in the wedding and the wedding party, and then officiate the relaxed ceremony. That's where we're going. That's what we're doing over 6 weeks. So this is conduct a thorough workshop. Yesterday we talked about the 5 steps of this stage. Kick it off with the couple really well. So I told you the 3 things to tell them. Cover the non-elements, brainstorm the pre-ceremony, brainstorm the elements. So we're going to try to do 2, 3, and some of 4 today if we're doing well. And then how do you wrap it up strong with the couple? How do you know, once you're done getting the spreadsheet filled up, there's things to say to them, things to do with them that make them leave that meeting feeling amazing. So to kick it off strong, you're going to tell them they're going to feel way less stressed. You're going to say, this will only take 1 hour. Don't worry. We're not going to be here for 2, 3 hours, or, you know, you're not going to wonder when we're done. And then here's the spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet we're working through is the non-elemental components. We went through some of that yesterday, names of people and all that. Pre-ceremony, we're going to brainstorm that today and try to get as far as we can through the elements of the ceremony. And then 5 things to do to wrap it up strong. How do we wrap up this workshop with our couple? Okay, but that's not yet. So what I'm going to do now is I do want to reiterate before we start, this is going to end in 54 minutes from now. So I'm doing with you what I do with my couple. I'm going to stop talking around 10:02 like I did yesterday and take some questions and wrap it up with you in a way that you understand what's going on. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We might not need the full hour tomorrow, depending on how it goes today, but that's why I did want to set aside 3 to expect Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday if necessary. I see there's 2 questions here. Can we download or print the slides? Yes, Keith, that's a great question. I'm going to send you the slides. That is my intention. So thanks for asking that. And are you going to send link for the presentations? Jennifer, there you go. So you guys are on the same page. Yes, I will send you these slides, okay? Thank you for that question. Okay, so let's get to the spreadsheet, the workshop spreadsheet. I'm going to go to Google and let you see that. Okay, so do you remember how to get to your spreadsheet? I got a great question, an email yesterday. Somebody sent me and said, the thing we did yesterday, how do I save it? Where is it? You don't have to save anything in Google Docs, Sheets, Forms. It's amazing. It just auto saves in the Google Cloud every few seconds. So I've had panicked members of Unboring Officiant before reach out to me and say, Mark, my computer crashed and I think I lost everything, or my battery died. That's not going to be the case. Google is always auto saving and it's all in the cloud. So some of you, if you have your Google account and you're logged in, you can see mine there. You're going to be able to click here possibly. And the more you use it, Google tends to get smart and say, oh, you use Sheets a lot. So they put one of these little shortcut things here. You can move these around just by clicking them, by the way. So if you see Sheets way down here and it's annoying, just move it up, move it right up to the top. That's what I did with these. Then we're going to we're going to use Docs, we're going to use Forms. And so let's go to Sheets here. You can click Sheets there. If that's not happening for you, remember I say literally Google Sheets. If you just Google Sheets, you'll probably get Bed Bath & Beyond or something. So if you go to Google Sheets, click that. It says sign in, but if you're signed in, it'll fly you right to your Sheets drive, essentially. This is where, and so you see the nomenclature I use. This is the one I created yesterday on the fly with us. This is the member directory inside the Facebook group. Some of you are inside there, and that's awesome. Everybody who's inside the Facebook group, I just put that there. It's a list of all the people who are inside Unboring Officiant. Just put yourself on there. Find out who's nearby you. Some of you might say, wow, there's another Unboring Officiant in my state. Maybe we can work together. But this is the one we're interested in. Anytime I have a wedding, I go here and I make my own copy. So just a quick refresher on that because it's crucial. You go in here, File, Make a Copy. I'm always shuffling around my little thumbnail of my video, so I don't think you can. So, okay, so make a copy. And then, again, the nomenclature I use here is just the couple's name. Click OK. And then you've got a new file. Okay, to get back here, I just go to Sheets in the corner. Jill and Frank is the one I had going yesterday. Joellen and Jim is a wedding I had coming up, and I don't know if that's going to happen in mid-April. It's turned into like 2 people in their living room, so we'll see what happens. But Jill and Frank, I'll click on this one because it's the one I made yesterday. Now, I don't want to waste your time by typing kind of hypothetically here, so you can just pretend that every single cell is filled out with the info as I walk you through this. So I'm kind of changing voices here because I'm giving you an example of how I walk the couple through it, but I also want to explain to you how to walk your couple through the options for every single entry here. What's the name of the Facebook group? Thank you, Carol. It's a good question. The name of the Facebook group is Unboring Officiant Customers Only. And then I'm going to ask you to provide your, it's just one question. What email did you use to sign up for the course? Just so I know that, because a lot of people ask to join and they're not, they just think it's a general officiant group, but I want this to be for us, our crew. So Unboring Officiant Customers Only. Okay. All right. So let's work through now. Again, we're moving through. This was just like pre-ceremony. This wasn't even pre-ceremony. This is like the details around. I want to get all the people at the top so I know what I'm doing when I show up. And then yesterday we stopped at parents again, that discreet question, which parents will be attending? Because just don't assume that any parents are coming. You'll put your foot in your mouth if you say, what are your parents' names or whatever, and then they have to say, oh, well, actually they're not coming, or they're deceased, or they're fighting, or I don't speak to my this is where this question sometimes unearths a little bit of family politics. You can lean into that if you want, or you can just say, they'll just tell you sometimes without comment, my mom will be there, my dad won't. Or they'll say, I have, parents and step parents, and my mom's been married 3 times, and my dad's been married 4 times. And so this can get quite involved. So just fill that out so that you kind of have a sense of who's there. And it's really nice when you show up at the wedding again, and when you see somebody with a camera, the photographer's name is Shelly. Great. And there's no videographer. Okay, not applicable. But the planner, okay. Planner's name is Tom, So you just go through like that. And when you show up on site, you know who these people are. See, this is why you don't want me typing. Partners A party, you get all their names down. Partner B's party, you get all their names down. Let's talk about microphones. So couples usually have questions for me about mics, or they haven't even thought about it. So this is a great part of this meeting with the couple to run this by them, because a lot of times they're like, wow, we didn't even think about that, and this is the first thing that they haven't thought of. So again, I'll just tell you, I ask them, what style of mic are you going to provide for me? Now, a lot of time they're like, we don't know. Here's just a little thing when they often say, do we even need a mic? And if it's 50 people or more, I find you're definitely in mic territory. Anywhere around that 40, 45, you're like, maybe we won't need one, especially depending on the space. So a lot of the time, if the wedding is around 40 people and they're not sure, I'll say, can you ask the venue? And so this is like their first to-do list. Ask the venue if we need a mic. And I've written extensive blog posts about this, but essentially the 3 styles of microphone are a clip-on mic that just clips right onto your lapel, and it's wireless. You clip the box into your belt, your dress, or your suit pants. The other style of mic is a mic on a stand, or a handheld, which I am totally against holding a handheld. I will not do it because I've got my binder. I talk about formatting the script nice and big. And if you're trying to do this and turn pages, and then when it even comes time to doing the ring, I like to take the ring and hand it to the person on the other side if it's the bride, so that the person doesn't have to walk in front. There's just, even if you don't do the rings, just doing this is really, and then it's windy. So I always say mic on a stand. I don't care if there's a cord or no cord, because you're not, you're not Tony Robbins. You're not walking up and down the stage. You're not, you don't need to be mobile. So just mic on a stand, binder, or the lapel mic. And then the other one that I've had to do on occasion is like the Britney Spears, Madonna headset mic. Hopefully it's not bejeweled, but one time it was like a really cheesy, like Logitech gamers mic. That's what they had. So I wore it, fine, whatever. Those are the 3 options. I will give a little warning if you're scribbling down notes. A lapel mic outside is usually a nightmare because it picks up the wind so easily. So a lapel mic inside is totally ideal. That way you don't have the stand and the thing right in front. So I always ask them, what style of mic for me? They go, what styles are there? Lapel mic, mic on a stand, or headset mic, way less common. A lot of time they say, we have no idea at all. And then I ask them, okay, so this is somebody's responsibility. It's the DJ or the AV person at the venue. It's one of them. So I always say to the couple, again, this is why it's just 1 hour, go back, talk to your DJ or the venue, find out who's in charge for mics for the ceremony. And they always come back with an answer. Great, it's the AV guy for our venue, and he will give you a mic on a stand. Fine, great. The other consideration for the style, though, I quickly follow up if they don't know, or they say, we were thinking lapel mic, is do you need a mic for your vows? I don't think they need a mic if they're just saying, I do. It's not a deal breaker. that they need a microphone. If the couple is not speaking at all in the ceremony, then a lapel mic is totally fine. Where they do need a mic is definitely if they are writing and reading their own vows. So that's what I always ask them here. I say, I know we're jumping into the deep end of the pool here, but are you writing and reading your own vows to each other in the ceremony? And if they say no, then okay, we can go back to lapel mic or whatever. If they say yes, I can still have a lapel mic, but they will need another mic nearby. They'll need a handheld mic, a cord mic that's kind of, I don't know, on a table or in the weeds by my feet, something, because then when it's time for them to say their vows, I pick the mic up and I hand it to the groom, and he has the mic typically and his paper. So that's a mic question that you hit them with right off the top. I see some questions rolling in, and I will get to those. And then the third mic-related question, are there any readers who need mics? Because again, maybe we're just me having a lapel mic, and they say, no, we're not, we don't need, we're just saying I do. Or repeat after me. I should go back and say, those three styles, right, are I do, you asked a big question as the officiant, they just say I do. The other style is repeat after me, line by line by line. To me, that's like maybe. And if there is a mic there, I do like everyone to hear them say the words instead of me. So I often slip it off and have them, when they repeat, they're holding the mics. And then the third one, reading their own vows. Everyone in the room wants to hear them, and they'll get mad if they can't. So it's kind of on us to say, you definitely need a mic. And then I ask if there's any readers coming up. Is there anybody coming up to say something? Because again, if we've decided, great, I'm wearing a lapel, but Granny is coming up and reading Corinthians, then I laugh because I cringe when people say we're going to read Corinthians. But yes, Granny needs a mic. So then you have two options. If the couple are just giving you a mic on a stand and you are using that for the ceremony, then you say, okay, we have two choices here. Granny can come up, or Uncle Bob, or whoever's saying something or reading something in the ceremony, they can come up where I stand and I'll just step back. Or another thing I've done many times is we have a second mic down the way on the other side of the bridesmaids or groomsmen or whatever, and it's kind of like the special reader's mic, okay? So I know this depends if you're in a barn venue or a church venue or a beach venue or whatever, but these are things to think about. People get frustrated and mad when they can't hear, especially when it's an unboring wedding. Maybe other weddings, people don't care, but in this wedding, people are gonna care if the front 5 rows are laughing and crying and the back 5 can't hear. And you're just gonna, again, you're gonna have that hostile crowd. We're trying to avoid that. Okay, so that is the microphone conversation I have with them. What style of mic? And they might say something like a handheld on a stand, and I say, great. But if they don't know, I put a question mark, and we look for these question marks after, at the end. Part of the wrap it up strong is we're gonna go through, every cell will be filled, and I'm looking for question marks. So handheld on a stand, they're not sure, then I'll say that's something that you need to confirm. And in the Google Doc script, I put that in. We're going to do that next week. Handheld on a stand, TBD. In the comment, you highlight that. That's kind of their to-do list. Does the couple need mics for vows? Let's say they say, yes, we want to write and read our own. Well, great. Yes, again, is a vote for a mic there. And so mic on a stand is a good idea when they need mics for themselves. Or you have that lapel mic, but there's another mic maybe on a low stand or somewhere that you hand to them. And are there any readers who need mics? And again, if they say yes, we wanted somebody to come up and read something, then at this point, handheld on a stand is a very, very good idea, because it just kind of like, it's all birds with one stone. Grandma can come up, I can step aside, she'll read. I have the mic, we're taking it off for you to read your own. So simplicity is best, I find. I've got a lot of mic nightmare stories. So the simplest you can keep it, the better. So that's the mic section. Gonna go to the questions. Doesn't the mic on the stand look awful? Yes, it doesn't look great. So that's why I say, so two things on that. First of all, the lapel mic is ideal, but not outside. So if most of your venues are inside, you don't need to worry about that. Always try to get a lapel mic for sure. But again, some lapel mics are super cheap and they just make a lot of static. They can only do 10 feet from the receiver box and the sound guy is at the back of the room. So it can be dicey. Every mic has its drawback. So there's that. And then the awful in the picks thing, I think like the boom style is awful in the pick, but if it's nice and centered, it's typically all right. And again, people hearing you to me is a bit more important than pictures. I've never had, if I say to the couple, if that's a deal breaker for you, that's a great point, Marnie. If that's a deal breaker for you, then get me a mic, get me a lapel mic. But if it's outside, it's going to be tricky. And then Jennifer, if they repeat after you, do they need a mic? That again, I don't think they need one. So to Marnie's point, I don't think it's worth having a mic on a stand just for the repeat moment. If it's there, I will take it off and hand it to them. But it's not like anybody in the audience and their guests are going to be like, what are they saying? They're going to hear me say the repeat, and then they know what they're saying. So really, to me, the mic is about people not getting upset because they don't know what's being said up there or what's going on. Okay? You're doing 2 tiny weddings. No mics. Yeah, that's good. Mics can be complicated. Okay, so that's awesome. Thank you. That's the mic section. And now we can move on to just clearing off these questions here. Let's get into, that's the logistics. Send them off to their DJ and AV person and confirm that. Then let's get to the next section. So now we're into basically section 2 in our minds. You don't need to tell them that, but now we're going to brain. So I do say, okay, let's get to the actual, let's put ourselves in the space. Let's put ourselves in the day. It's 15 minutes before the ceremony. We arrive on site. We're going to talk about this in stage 6 of how to do that well. Lots of things for us as officiants to be running around doing and checking off, making sure that we're relaxed and we're in control, but we're making sure the things are in place, such as mics and paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But I asked them, when I get on site, where is partner A? So bride, where are you and where's your party? Typically, she'll say there's a suite attached to the venue, or if it's like a campground, there's a cabin. Great. So just say, great, when I get there, if there's a planner, Tom is the planner. I'm going to ask Tom, or I'll look for Tom. You can show me at the rehearsal where you'll be. Sometimes it's a hotel, so it's like 11th floor. I still like to go up there and present myself when I arrive. One of those little things, what bride wants to wonder if everyone's there? Sometimes, again, at the Algonquin, the planner there, she's on it. She's got a walkie, and she actually says, the officiant has arrived. The officiant makes me feel very presidential, and that gets relayed to the bride. So sometimes you don't need to go in person, but I think it's a really nice touch to actually go in person, look them in the eye and say, how are you doing? Just touch base, okay? For me, sometimes it's a bit awkward because it's like ladies in various states of undress 45 minutes before. So I just say, you know, is everybody decent in there? Just wanted to check in and make sure they know we're here. So I say, I'm going to check on you when I get there. I want to know where you are. Partner B, say it's a groom. What are you doing? Typically the groom is, and I said what because a lot of grooms are like, I don't know, what should I be doing? And I always say, there's no should. So put that in your, I want everybody on this webinar to remember, there's no should in weddings anymore. It's a great time to be alive. So I'd say that to the groom. There's no should here. Do what's best for you. So traditionally, the bride is in her suite, getting ready, and the groom is out pressing the flesh, shaking hands, saying hi to people. And I think that is the most common. I think 3/4 of the weddings I do, that's the case. Other weddings, the groom will say, oh, I'll be in the suite. Like we're all going to be together, all the bridal party and everybody, the groomsmen, the bride and groom, they've done a first look. As those get more common, the first look, that's where the bride and groom see each other. The couple sees each other 2 hours before the ceremony and have a really nice intimate time with the photographer. A lot of time, if they've seen each other, your couple, then they're not hiding from each other. So they might be in the same suite before the ceremony. Great. And then less, I forget which one I said before. They're greeting people, or they're all together, or sometimes less commonly, and I say this to the groom, do you need to be like somewhere, you know, with a flask of bourbon and a corner rocking back and forth? Do you need like an introverted quiet space before the ceremony? Because some people will do better with that. So I say, do what's best for you. Don't ask me what you should be doing. It's your wedding. If greeting family members, long lost family members, 15 minutes before your ceremony sounds like a nightmare for you, don't do it. Do what's right for you. Be in a side room, be in the cloakroom, be out for a walk in a field. I want to know what you're doing. Okay, so ask groom, partner B, what he or she will be doing. Then I ask, who's playing the pre-ceremony music? You don't want to walk into a space, you don't want guests arriving and it's dead silent. That just sounds really uninteresting, creaking, nothing but footfalls. This does happen when it's like a friend on an iPod or an iPhone. The last wedding I did at the Algonquin in St. Andrews, it was a friend. She didn't show up till 5 minutes too. So I literally found somebody and said, plug your phone in, go on Spotify, wedding music. And of course it was like quartet music of, orchestra stuff. But we had to have something. So ask the couple. Yes, the friend dropped the ball, but her name was here. Who is playing pre-ceremony music? It was Sally, and Sally was late. Good thing she was at the rehearsal. Otherwise, I would have been freaking out. So we already had talked about cues and things like that. But ask them, who's playing pre-ceremony music? Usually it's a DJ. But again, make sure your couple knows they have to tell the DJ to be there early as part of the contract to play music before. If it's live music, a quartet, sometimes they know that. Sometimes they have a quartet for the ceremony and like a classical guitarist for the pre-ceremony. So just run that by them. And then who's greeting guests at the door? Typically that is the groom and the groomsmen. That's a traditional function. But sometimes, again, if groom and groomsmen want to hang out with bride and bridesmaids, or they want to be off privately by themselves somewhere, then it's good to have people posted at the door. So this is where I'll say to the couple, this is a great way to get cousins involved, long lost people, an aunt and uncle. You don't want it to be parents, I will say, because sometimes they say our parents would be good at that. And it's like, no, parents are the worst guest greeters because they're going to get in really intense conversations with people. You want that cousin or sometimes a couple, a second related to or friends of the couple, that they won't get cornered in conversations. They'll be posted at the door and say, hello, sit wherever you'd like, welcome, handing out programs maybe. But just, it's nice to have people posted at the door, especially in a big venue like a museum. Some weddings I've done, guests get there and it's this huge space with a rotunda. And if the signage isn't good, you want your guests to arrive, I tell the couple, and be ushered every step of the way. You want somebody saying to the left, and then there's somebody over there in that corridor, just down the hall. Don't make guests uncomfortable or wonder where they have to go when they arrive. That's where having greeters is really key. Okay, so that's the 15-minute before brainstorm. How are we doing? I'm gonna check in here. I thought, oh, Q&A, okay, we got a chat going. My mom and I are a team. Yeah, Tracy, that's an awesome thing you got going on there. The harp and organizing at the back. Yeah, that's really key for guest comfort. Okay, so we're humming along. It's 1/2 the hour. Just take a breather here. Is everybody doing good? Okay, so when we talk about ceremony kickoff, you'll see I have this like little box. I've boxed out these 3 cells here because this is where I say to the couple, great, we've brainstormed where you both are, what music is playing, who's at the door, wonderful. Let's talk about kickoff. There's so many ways to start a ceremony. I've, over the years, honed this, I think, pretty perfect way to broach the conversation with them. It's kind of like 3 qualifying questions. So my first question that I asked them, I said, we're gonna hash out your processional and how we get everybody in the room. And sometimes it's literally diagrams on napkins, or I pull my notebook out and try to give them some paper because they're trying to think of the order of their bridesmaids and groomsmen. This is the most involved part of the workshop usually. And sometimes it really bogs down. It takes like 25 minutes just to do cells 23 to 28. And you can look at the clock and be like, how is this thing only going to take an hour when this part took 20, 25 minutes? Don't freak out. It often does. And then the rest is pretty, look, like what songs did you choose, blah, blah, blah. So don't worry. This is really an involved part. So I ask them these 3 qualifying questions. I say, is anyone escorting? So again, we're doing Jill and Frank here. Jill, is anybody escorting you down the aisle? Again, don't make the mistake of just assuming her dad is walking her down the aisle. A lot of brides, they don't want somebody to escort them down the aisle. Maybe her father is deceased or estranged or something like that. So again, I know in the movies or traditionally we go there, but I always ask, is anyone escorting you, Jill, down the aisle? Let's say she says, yes, it's dad. So I'm doing that right now. I'm going to assume. Great, dad's walking down the aisle. We've got that. And then I'll say to the other person getting married, now, here's the second question. When you envision your wedding starting, do you envision Frank, your party is already there? Your groomsmen are already there when Jill walks in? Or are you envisioning them coming down the aisle 2 by 2? That's really the only options I give them. And again, there's 100 ways to do this. Couples don't want overwhelm, and couples don't want every option in the book. So I think that's a kind of an officiant mistake that I'm seeing. A lot of professionals, they believe that by offering more and more and more and more options, they're offering more and more and more value. And when I go to the dentist, I don't want 16 options. I want the top 3 for how to get this tooth taken care of or whatever. So I see us as specialists and experts. And so this is where I just say, and maybe maybe she'll say, oh, I saw something really cool on a practical wedding, or I saw something really cool on the knot that I want to do. Awesome. But in terms of if you're looking at a couple who have no idea, then that's great. They're not like connoisseurs of the wedding processional. So you say, partner B, Frank, do you want your groomsmen to be up there already and then it's just Jill's party walking in? Or do you envision them coming in as pairs, arm in arm, 2 by 2? They will give you a great answer. 80, 90% of my weddings, partner B, the groom, they're already there. So in this case, because of the way I phrase it, is partner B's party walking in the processional or just partner A? I'll just say, just Jill. Just Jill's party is walking. The others are going to be already up there. So now see how we're narrowing the start? Basically, we're kind of process of elimination, weeding out some of the options that can overwhelm us as we try to figure out how to start this thing in a way that the couple is really happy with. And then I ask, is there any special honorary seating for parents or grandparents? This is the part where I explain to them, so you might want to take some notes here. A huge part of Unboring Officiant, and I think what makes this style so like spreading like wildfire and people love it, is the 3 minutes of announcements that I give, opening remarks before the ceremony, before the bride comes in and things get really serious, before the couple are standing in front of you. I like to just basically give some opening remarks about phones and turn off your thing, but I play with the guests a little bit. I say, good afternoon, everybody, and nobody says anything back. And I say, whew, that was rough. Let's try that again. Good afternoon, everyone. And immediately everyone shouts back, good afternoon. And they're so, I mean, wedding guests, it's the best crowd ever, but they're so uptight because of, again, wedding, people don't really know how to behave. So I tell the couple, I'm going to have like a 3-minute opening remarks. A lot of time I'll do that with the groomsmen and the groom up there. And so they're there when I'm doing these opening remarks. We haven't started yet, but before we begin the wedding, blah, 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 blah. But the special honorary seating would happen before those opening remarks, because basically everybody is in the room. And when we kick off, it kicks off with the processional and partner A walking in, the bride, okay? So I say, is there any parent or grandparent that you want to seat? Everybody is sitting. Is there anybody you want to seat in the front row in their reserved spots? And I would recommend not going crazy with this, like all the grandparents, aunts and uncles and all that. It'll depend on your culture. But typically it's So I'll say to Jill, if your dad's walking you down, your mom should, I would recommend, try to stay away from the word should. I would recommend that we seat your mom in an honorary way. Okay? So the way that we might do that, we'll put a pin in that. So she'll say, yes, Jill's mom. And then there might be a grandparent. There might be, so what about Frank's parents now? Frank's mom at the very least. Okay? So, because Frank might say, well, if Jill's mom getting that, then my parents should. So if they say, yes, we want to draw some attention to them, have them seated last in an honorary way, then here's what I recommend to my couple to start it off. 90% of my weddings, I walk in, especially if just Jill's party is walking in the processional. I walk in just at a normal pace. The music is playing. Nobody's paying attention. It's 10 after the hour, because what wedding starts on time? I walk straight down the center aisle, and behind me, a lot of the time, will be the groomsmen. And so again, and I've asked them, are the groomsmen walking in the processional, or are they going to be up there already? If she says up there already, then let's march in together, just in a single file. I take the front, they shuffle into their line, and then a lot of the time, this is when, because everyone's attention is going to focus, there'll be a hush. Oh, okay, we're getting started. I don't say anything. I just look at everybody and I'm smiling. Everybody's attention is focused on us at the front. This is when the honorary seating happens. A lot of the time, the bride, so Jill's mom, I would say, who is a good person to seat your mom? Your dad is going to walk you in. So here's some options for that. A lot of the time, it'll be the best man. The best man is a great person to escort the mother of the bride. Other times, the bride will have a brother. So the brother is like the obvious shoe-in. So the brother comes in, seats mom, and maybe the brother's a groomsman. So he takes his place. Maybe he's not. Maybe he sits next to her. The best man, of course, would seat Jill's mom and then take his place. And then Frank would enter with his parents. So sometimes, again, this is where I talk to the groom. A lot of the time I'll say, are you comfortable having one parent on each arm? Some grooms say, well, that's dorky. No, I don't want to have my dad on my arm, or I don't want to be between them. And others say, I love that. So say, here's what you can do, Frank. You can walk in with between your parents, or your dad, your mom, and you, whatever configuration of the three of them coming down is comfortable for you. And Frank might go for that. Another thing is, sometimes the groom will say, my dad wouldn't care about this. My dad would be fine being there in the front seat. He doesn't need an honorary seating. Let's just do my mom, because then it's not as complicated. So then I would change this. Okay, sometimes in the conversation it'll change. Great, okay, so just your mom. So Jill's mom is seated by the best man. He takes his place. Frank's mom is seated by by Frank, and then he takes his place. And so I would write that here. Is there special honorary seating? And I would say Jill's mom by best man. Again, my nomenclature is just kind of short there. And Frank's mom by Frank. Sometimes you'll have grandparents. Sometimes Frank doesn't want to seat his parents. He'll think, why don't I just march in with all the guys, and then just my parents walk in and seat themselves. They don't need me to escort them. And I say, that's great too. Okay, so play with some options here. And now, again, we've further narrowed the processional. The couple will also say, well, can we have my parents in the processional? That's after the opening remarks, when the actual music starts. Yeah, we can do that. So it would take me way more time than we have here to discuss every configuration. This is a way to start the conversation. It's a way into the conversation with the couple, and then kind of hash out who's in the processional, who's not, who gets seated honorarily, and who's up there already. So then the next question is, great, how do I enter? And this question is usually answered already, because if it's I'm at the head of all the groomsmen, then I would say with groomsmen, except for the best man, and I might write that there, except for the best man and Frank. How and when does partner B enter? We're using this data that we filled out up here. I'll say with his mom. and that's just ironing out for me the process here. And then the order of partner B's entry. So this is where it gets really nitty gritty. I say, great, now that we've decided all your groomsmen are walking in with me, now we got to talk about the order that you want them standing up there. And this is where I say napkins come out or pieces of paper. And you're like, okay, Dave is tall, so do we want height like this or height like this? Or sometimes it matters the partner A, the bridesmaids, when they walk out together, what pairs. So this is where it gets, you're getting in the weeds now, but that's part of this workshop. This could take about 5 minutes to hash out. Typically, there's going to be 3, 4, 5 groomsmen, and you're just going to say, tell me the order. So obviously, you got the best man closest to the groom, and then Dave, Adam, and Scott. How do you want them configured? Okay, and just they'll figure it out by height or friendship level of importance, that kind of thing. Okay, so you have the names here. Dave, Adam, Scott are walking in together with the officiant, okay? Great, and then it's time for opening remarks, and this is where I ask, what is the couple's preference around photos? So once we're all up there and the honorary seating, the groom is there, best man, we're all up there, all the guys and you, good afternoon everyone, etc., etc. Do you want me to tell people to turn their cameras off, or do you want me to tell people that they can take pictures and be discreet? And I tell them, I'm going to do a little bit of like a, good cop, bad cop in one person. I'll say, you can take pictures, but please be discreet. This is where I always say, and we'll talk about this more on the script next week, because you'll see it all in the script, but I always like to draw attention to the photographer. I say, Shelly is a photographer today. She's taking photos. So that's why the couple has said no photos, please. Or you can take photos, be discreet, take them from your seat. Don't get in the aisle. We don't want to get in Shelly's way, okay? So let's say here they say, no, it's an unplugged ceremony. Great. That's on me at the beginning of my opening remarks to say, no photos, please. Do the guests need to know anything else besides turn off your phones? I like to say that to them there so that they know I'm going to say turn off your phones. Sometimes that's why I say IE, is there a hashtag? But keep these remarks really, really brief. We're going to do closing remarks again. So, I've had some couples say to me, oh yeah, tell them like no smoking tonight in the tent at the reception. It's like, that's not for now, okay? I can say something like that maybe briefly at the end. That sounds more like an MC thing or the DJ when he gets the mic. But right now, I typically 99% of the weddings, no photos, please, or yes photos. Turn off your phones. Maybe there's a hashtag when you do start posting your photos later. We're going to have a great time. Let's get started. And then I say to the couple, when I say let's get started, with that, let's begin is my cue. I always say, are you ready to get these two hitched? Everybody cheers. Yeah, let's get them hitched. Okay, great. Let's begin. That's my cue for the DJ, the quartet, the cellist, the guitarist, to start the music. And so I say, while we're here, I'm just going to ask you for all your songs. So ask your couple. A lot of time they don't even know how many songs they need. So you need a processional song, and sometimes they don't know. So I'll tell you what this looks like. Because a month and a half before, sometimes I haven't even thought about it. I'll say, you need a song for everybody coming in. You haven't chosen it yet. Do you want a second song for Jill for when you walk in? This is very common, is there's one song for all the kids and dogs and bridesmaids and things like that. And then do you want a second song to start just for you? And then I say, please stand for the bride as you're able. That second song starts. And a lot of times you say, oh yeah, I like that. I like a second song just for me. Good. So typically you have two songs, one for everybody walking in, another song for just the bride coming in. Then the signing song. I know a lot of you in the States don't do a signing. I've never seen a wedding without a signing. A lot of American friends say, what is this signing in the ceremony thing? I have a lot of people who are taking Unboring Officiant, they are kind of importing this into the States, and it is so fun. The signing can be like an intermission with a really fun song. So it's not what you think, where it's like this part of the ceremony where everyone's uptight and still whispering and it's a real drag. I like to do vows, rings, and then pronounce them married and you can kiss, and they kiss, everybody cheers, and then a fun song starts. I'll say, we're going to go sign the papers really quick. We'll be right back. And for 5 minutes, you have a really fun song that starts that's really meaningful to the couple. So in Canada, I don't need to explain this. They go, yeah, the signing, we've chosen such and such song. But I do have to tell the couple, can you make it a fun song? Because a lot of the weddings they've seen, it's like, you know, it's Schindler's List theme or some dirge from a cello. And if that's what they want, again, they're the boss, that's fine. But I tell them, this is going to be different because you're going to kiss. I'm going to pronounce it. You're going to kiss. Everybody's going to cheer. And I mean, the best experience was when we went over to sign. The couple chose Bob Marley, One Love. And we're signing, we're chatting, and everybody's kind of talking. And One Love is playing. And we look up, we're kind of signing. We look up, and everybody all their guests were like doing One Love. It was like a party broke out. And the ceremony's over at that point by minutes. You're going to come back, present them. You're not done. But the tension has broke, and it's really an awesome time. So a lot of Unboring officiants are actually doing this in the States and finding out it can be so fun. And so I recommend it. So I'll say to the couple, choose a signing song, make it fun if you can. She'll say, great. And then the recessional song. After we come back from the signing, I'm going to tell them what, we'll talk about this, what are guests doing next? What are they doing next? And stand with me now. I present you for the very first time, Jill and Frank as, you know, married. And everybody cheers. And then you want a song that comes in really hot, not a song that has like a, you know, Moby type grinding beginning. You want like a ba-da-ba-ba, and off they go, and people are cheering and clapping. So I say, think about that. Choose a song that's a really great send-off. And then I ask them, is there any other music that you want in your ceremony? Again, 95% of the time it's no. Because there's just no other occasion for music. Sometimes it's like, yes, my cousin plays the violin and she has a special song for us. But typically it'll be no, but I just want to give them the option. Now, this is probably a good time to end because this is where it gets really involved. I say, okay, we've talked about all this. We've talked about me walking in with your groomsmen. We've talked about you seating your mom and Frank seats his mom. Then now it's time for the processional. The processional song has started, right? Give me the full order of everybody coming down the aisle at this point, okay? We have the information that we need for the pre-ceremony, before the opening remarks. Here is where I write down where she'll say, you know, so my friend Trish will come out, then Kristen. And again, make sure you're asking what the criteria is. I had a wedding where it didn't dawn on the bride until we were ready to walk in. She looked at her 6 bridesmaids and realized their dress patterns didn't look good. And the bride is the one who caught it. We were about to start. And she was like, no, wait. We got to switch all this around. So that taught me to say, okay, how are you making this decision of who's standing where? Really think it through now. Do you really want Trish, then Kristen, then Amy, you know? So have them think it through. Who's coming in when? Kids, I'll give you a little hot pro tip here, because a lot of time brides will think, they'll ask you, when should I have kids walk in? And it's either or. Kids can walk in before the bridesmaids or after the bridesmaids, right before the bride. I have a criteria where I say, because a lot of time they'll default to like, here comes the bride, a cute little chalkboard sign right before the bride. But if the kids are anywhere under 3 years old, I say, have them come out before the bridesmaids, because they're going to be cute. That's their job. They're going to crush it. They're going to nail being cute. That's their only job. But there might be like meltdowns. There might be crying. The kid could sit in the middle of the aisle. The kid could do a hard left halfway in and go right into the guests. And everyone will be laughing and stuff and going, aw. But do you want that kind of cute chaos right before you walk out as the bride? Most of them say no. So as a pro officiant, somebody who knows what they're talking about, recommend, if we're talking flower girl is 8, ring boy is 10, it's like, that's great. They're gonna be able to walk down the aisle. They're gonna nail it. A 3-year-old or something like that. My son was a 3-year-old ring bearer. He was a disaster. And I was in the wedding party, and unfortunately it was right before my sister came out, and it was a real mess because her officiant didn't think about this. So If it's really little kids, have them come out when you say, let's begin. The music starts. Little kids come out and do their chaotic, adorable, cute thing. And then the adult bridesmaids or bridesmen come out and kind of reset the vibe so that when the bride comes in, please stand as you're able. There's a little bit of decorum, and it's that beautiful moving moment that you want in the ceremony. Then we move into partner A, so Jill's arrival. And I think we should pick it up from there tomorrow, because like I said, we're really going to rip through this no problem. So we're doing great time. So it's 9 minutes to the hour. How do you feel about all that? I see some chat, but I don't see any questions. So let me chime in and see everything I've missed. Okay. Oh, we're talking about panelists and attendees. Good. We got a dentist in the house. That's awesome. Must have been talking to me by osmosis. Tracy, glad you're laughing. I love having a great time with this. And I love having a great time with my couple. And a lot of the time, I will talk with them the way I'm talking to you. Do you want your adorable disaster 3-year-old niece, to create holy chaos before you come out, or that kind of thing? So it's fun to paint pictures for them sometimes where they go, I don't know if I want that, actually. Okay, so no questions yet. Great. We got a question here. Do you probe the parental situation to help sort it out? Good question, Keith. Like I say, I read the cues. That's why I love doing this in person with the couple. A lot of the time they'll just say, my family is an effing disaster. And you're just like, great. Mine too. High five. But you can just say, like, you don't want too many details, but a lot of time they will offer, like, most couples I've seen love to joke about it. My dad's been married twice. His current wife hates my mother. And you just go, oh, man. I think it depends on, your personality. Some people have like the Chaplin eyes, and they're just, they're beautiful. That's really, how are you coping with all that? I just tend to laugh and say, like, my family is a disaster as well. That's great. Okay, so let's talk it through. Do you all this work right now with 4 people in a wedding? do you all this work right now with 4 people in a wedding? So do you mean like if it's a really small wedding? I do this workshop no matter how small it is. It'll probably take 20 minutes if it's really small. And again, you might have more of an elopement style where you can basically skip all of the processional stuff coming in. Like the wedding I'm doing in April, even before it got postponed to their living room, it was in a bar. It was going to be like they had rented out the space, drinks. They wanted a wedding in the middle of a party. So literally I was just going to go, okay, everybody, we're going to start a wedding here. Come on in and gather around. And the couple didn't want to come into music or anything. So most of my spreadsheet was like, NA, not admissible, not applicable, not, okay. So I would still recommend walking through this and saying to your couple, I have this spreadsheet. Again, we show it to them and say, this is the template for all the weddings I do. Most of this won't apply to you. That's perfectly fine. Okay, do you recommend wireless mics with batteries or wired mics in the stand? Either one. Like I say, you're not going to ever pop it off and do like Tony Robbins walking up and down the stage. So it really doesn't matter at all. It's what's most convenient. One of those checks though is like, I insult the DJ's intelligence. Sometimes they visibly roll their eyes, but I don't care. Are these fresh batteries? So check the batteries, whether it's a lapel or a handheld. Do that job. Like, you're the one who ends up looking dumb if the DJ forgot to do something. So I think when I started out, I was really shy, and then enough DJs dropped the ball for me that I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to worry about them thinking I'm a diva. When something goes wrong and you're up there literally holding the mic, you're going to thank yourself that you did as much as you could. Jennifer says, what do you recommend to wear? I just want to read the full question. If the couple has a theme wedding, do you dress accordingly? I have never had a theme wedding. I don't know if it's because Canadians are uptight, or I don't know. I've never ever had one. Would I do one? Yeah, I guess. I think the Unboring style, telling their story, could be a real hoot. And I love having a good time, but I've never been asked. So typically my advice to what to wear is just dress classic, dress understated. So I stay away from the latest style suit. I used to work at a suit shop, so I loved like when plaid and bright shirts were, I love dressing that way. But don't look like you're right out of the latest issue of GQ or whatever, the Vanity Fair or something like that. Dress in a classic, formal way. That's what I recommend. Do not outshine the couple, and try not to clash. Like, so, I use a lot of like neutral colors, actually stay on brand a lot of time, like pink or salmon or dusty rose, blues. My suits are gray or navy. You just don't want to look better than the groom, or have colors that really clash. So so Yvette, I'm reading your question. A lot of this info would be covered off if they have a wedding planner. Oh yeah, I do not assume, never put the burden on other vendors. A lot of time it's the opposite. Do this with your couple, and if you have it a month and a half before, they've most of the time never thought of this. And planners will love you. And I'm so glad you asked, Yvette, because the way to grow your business, if you're trying to go pro, is to get those planners to love you. And there's a way to do that. Make sure you follow up with them or have a rapport with them. But when you have a session, I've had planners reach out to me and say, I have never seen this level of organization from an officiant. And I'm not bent this way. I'm not like a spreadsheet guy. I'm not organized. But planners who are typically bent that way, when you do this workshop with your couple and then you create the script, and again, you make it shareable. I'll show you how to do that. And I tell most couples, share this with your planner. So a lot of time I show up at the rehearsal and the planner has our script. She printed it out. It's on her clipboard and she's going by yours. So I would say that's one way to get on the planner's good side. And also, planners have different ways of working. And I would not want every planner sending me a different looking document or whatever. I want my document. I want to know what it looks like. I want to know what questions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, hope that was helpful. Julia, what's your view on readings? Yeah, they are traditional in the UK. So I actually have a YouTube video. You can find extra stuff on my channel. I have a YouTube video on readings and my thoughts on readings. A couple, we'll get down here. This is probably from tomorrow. Are there any readings? So I was going to touch on this because tomorrow we're going to talk about elements. I don't recommend readings. And what I mean is I don't recommend a reading. So the couple will say, what's something really nice? Do you have any ideas? And I say, and I know this is a hot take, controversial maybe, I say, if you can't think of a reading, we shouldn't include it in the ceremony. The example I use is a bride who said, I really want a reading. What do you recommend? And I said, it should be something so meaningful to you that nobody would need to give you an idea. So is there a book or something in your life that somebody could read that would mean a lot to you? Maybe you guys fell in love over a Shakespearean sonnet, or maybe you love Churchill's History of England. And she said, my dad used to read me, Oh, the Places You'll Go, when I was a kid. And I get goosebumps even talking about it. Her dad walked up and read Dr. Seuss in the wedding ceremony, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. Dr. Seuss made everyone, including me, like well up with tears. And it's because he used to read it to her as a little girl, and it was so beautiful. That's the kind of thing that I mean. A reading can be incredible, but if you say, I feel like that moment would have been lost. That opportunity would have been lost if I had said to this bride, yeah, I have like 15, I have a document of 15 wedding readings to choose from. Some of you do that and are gonna love doing that, and that's fine. So I'm just saying, for me, it's about an unboring wedding. Nobody says that was a really beautiful reading if it's like just a typical wedding reading. But when you say to the couple, I'll talk about this again tomorrow, so Julia will come up again, but you saved us some time for tomorrow. just ask the couple, is there a reading that is really meaningful to you? And I use that as the one that just shines, because who knew Dr. Zeus could make people cry? There's more questions rolling in, but it is the top of the hour. What is about pets in the procession? It happens a lot. So, yep, bring them on down. I don't know if you had a specific question. If your couple has a wedding coordinator at their venue and has hired a wedding planner, all the organizing of the wedding ceremony procedures, do you still need to get this extensive information? Yeah, so I hope I've answered that. Like, sit down and do this with your couple. Don't rely on the planner. How do you know how much to charge? So that's a great question. That's a big question. That's a big question. I just tend to charge double what everybody else is charging, because nobody's doing this. And I think you'll be able to do that too. The key, this is not that course. Again, we're not talking about this so much, but the key is getting those first photos of you in action. And you'll see some great examples of that in the Unboring Officiant Facebook group. I think it's Jen, I hope it's right, Jen Addard, or Helen. There's some people who they did their first wedding and they got those photos from the photographer of the couple laughing and them reading. And you'll see, if you go to unboringwedding.com, I made sure to chase down every photographer who photographed me to a wedding. And I said, can you give me the pictures of where people are laughing and they're emotive pictures? You get one or two weddings where there's people laughing and having a great time, and you get reviews, one or two reviews from couples, and then I swear you can start charging double really quick. So at the beginning, maybe charge what everybody else is charging. You're kind of like going in incognito under the radar. They have no idea how awesome it's going to be. But the second a couple will say, oh my gosh, that was the best thing ever, and you have photographic proof, like all these pictures on my wall, you can start charging double, and people will pay it. I have had people sit in front of me and say, we're hiring you because you're so expensive, because that says something. That's a whole marketing conversation that we don't have time for, but it says something when other officiants are charging $300 and they all look the same, and you charge $700 and it looks like everybody's having a great time. There are couples who will just pay you because of that. So last question I'm going to take, because I want to respect your time. For the rehearsal, do you inform the couple that you are in charge of managing it and ask the planner to be present? Yeah. So Jennifer, that's like week 5. We're going to talk about all that. And yes, I insist on being in charge. That's all part of showing up at the rehearsal, connecting well with the planner, saying, I got this, can you help me? Just establishing yourself as kind of that authority. Okay. Do we get an Unboring certificate upon completion? I've thought about that. Maybe that's a second course. There's nothing formal at this time, but you know, a lot of people ask, and I do think it's a good idea. I'm thinking of creating a website of all the graduates with photo proof and that kind of thing. Jackie, that's cool. Everything I learned in kindergarten. Yeah, that's a great example. Okay, I want to respect your time. Thanks so much, guys. I think this was great. I hope you don't think, wow, we haven't really made any headway, because like I said, this all processional stuff, even in your workshop, it's going to be the most involved. Tomorrow, we're going to finish this off, and then I'll just briefly tell you how to finish off your conversation with the couple and send them out the door feeling amazing and like you are a Jedi at what you do. Okay, so that's tomorrow's session. I don't know if it's going to last the full hour, but that's it. Hopefully you got a ton of useful stuff out of this. Thanks for your awesome questions. Just going to head over to chat here. Thanks, Obi-Wan. I'm going to send you now, right? Email with this recording and the link for the new webinar tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to go off now, process this recording, send it to you with the new link for tomorrow. And I cannot wait to wrap up stage 1 with you. See you here, same time, same channel. Stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and have a great rest of your Thursday or Friday, wherever you're in the world. Do we get the spreadsheet? I hope you already have the spreadsheet. Okay, and the presentation link. Yeah, okay. Like this, you should have this. Sure, I'll send it again. I will send it again. I'll send it in every email if you need it. But hopefully you have this by now, and you just keep coming back to it and make 100 copies if you want. All right? See you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks so much. Loved it. Had a great time.